Welcome to Movers and Makers, episode number 4, Movers and Makers virtual chat series, I should say, as I routinely forget to. Brought to you by Low Key Arts in Hot Springs National Park, Arkansas, and made possible with the support of the Gail Pratt Fraser Trust, to whom we extend our gratitude. I am your host, Sunny Kay, Executive Director of Low Key Arts. My guest today is someone whose path through music has taken them around the globe and produced collaborations with some true icons, as well as a very provocative body of work stretching back more than 2 decades. Jessie Evans got her start in the Bay Area punk scene, in the groups Subtonix and the Vanishing, in the late 90s, late 90s and early 2000s. After that, she relocated to Berlin, where she collaborated in the group Autonervous, and finally relocated to Brazil about a decade ago, if I'm not mistaken, where she's speaking to us live from this evening, and has continued putting out inventive and, dare I say, ass-shaking music in the past 10 years. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the show, Jessie. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, Movers and Makers.
Hi, Sunny. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. All the way from Ubatuba. Am I saying that right?
Yep, surf capital of Brazil.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. And as I understand it, not too far from Sao Paulo. Is that right?
4 hours from Sao Paulo and 5 hours from Rio on the coast.
Okay. All right. Well, just how you wound up there, I suppose we'll get to in due time. Do you want to introduce your friend on your lap?
This is my daughter, Ruby, who is 1.5 years old. You want to say hi, Ruby?
Hi, Ruby. She's been. We've been getting to know each other for a few minutes, I guess, before full disclosure, before we've gone live. So we're old friends now, and I'm not that interesting anymore, apparently. So that's okay. Anyway, Jessie, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much. I want to start just kind of at the beginning with you, if that's okay. Talk a little bit about your early years in music. I met you when you were, I guess, in your mid to late 20s. So I had to do some researching myself to sort of educate myself on your background a little bit.
I was early 20s.
Okay, all right. Important distinction. You're from the Bay Area then?
I'm from I was born in Fort Bragg, California, which is up north, like 4 hours north of San Francisco, and I moved to San Francisco when I was 18 years old.
Okay. Can you move any closer to your mic?
Sorry. Yeah. I moved to San Francisco when I was 18. I'm from Fort Bragg, California, which is near Reggae on the River, up north, Mendocino County.
Okay. Doing a little bit of reading and some older interview that you've done, I found out that you were, as a teen, kind of getting up to no good, causing trouble in some places in Europe long before you were ever over there in a band on tour. And I thought that was interesting. That was not what I knew or expected, actually. So.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I was 17, I got a one-way ticket to London. I just thought, I was like, I'm going to Europe and I'm gonna start my life there, and I brought a huge suitcase of stuff. Like, I arrived in London. I didn't know anyone, it was like total culture shock. And I ended up like throwing half my stuff, like my Walkman and half my clothes, like over a bridge, because it was like too much stuff to carry, because I was like, I'm gonna start my life over. And I just didn't even know what I was doing. But I ended in Dublin, Ireland for about 6 months, and I squatted in Amsterdam. I went down to Spain in like a traveling like tour bus of like street musicians, and I played sax all over Spain with a friend of mine from London named Poppy, and we played sax on the streets. And then I came back to San Francisco and started band. I just was kind of like as a teenager, I was trying to find myself, and I knew that I wanted to do music, but I just really confirmed it in me, like traveling a bit. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to San Francisco and I'm gonna start a band, So I moved to San Francisco. I lived in this really small apartment, like under a stairwell, and I put an ad in the paper first thing to start a band. And I said like X-Ray Specs and Blondie and stuff, and I met the drummer for Subtonix, Cookie, And then through that, I started Subtonix. And then shortly after, at the same period, I met Brian Hawk from the Vanishing, and also Lucas, that we had a band called the Knives for a while. Before that, and musicians like Tracy Lords from Deep Throats and Sugar Fix, they played drums and like played in a bunch of bands in the scene that time. It was an amazing moment in San Francisco music scene. Like, I'm so
what
happy
year
that I got to be
this would have been like 96, 97, something like that?
Yeah, something around there. Yeah, I think 97.
Let's back up just a little bit. I find it totally, I've always found it fascinating that you play the saxophone, because it's just so, I mean, it's such an unexpected instrument for someone from our scene, if you want to call it that, and not to mention a woman, a front woman in a so-called, you know, punk or goth band. It's really breaking the mold. So how did that happen?
I guess like I've always been interested in. I've always been wanting to. Yeah, she wants to tell a story too. But anyways, I've always been. I was a kid. My parents are musicians. My dad plays cello and harp. My mom played guitar and drums. And ever since I was like 4, I started playing violin lessons, you know, and then keyboards, drums. Nothing ever stuck until I was about 15, and then I decided I really want to play saxophone. And I tried to join. Am I still connecting?
Yeah, it's a little choppy.
Yeah. So I'll talk slowly then. So I wanted to play marching band, and they had too many sax players, so I was stuck on flute first and bass drum, which I didn't enjoy. But after that, my mom and my dad at the time, who weren't speaking for like 20 years, they put all their money together and they bought me a saxophone on time, and they paid for it for literally 10 years and went into Denver at some student sax. And that was just a symbol, like, support of me. She always was like supporting whatever I got behind. But yeah, and that stuck. I really like saxophone.
Okay. But was Subtonix your first actual band, or were these other projects with Brian prior to that?
With Brian, we had the Knives. That was with Brian on drums and Gabe Lucas singing. And I also was in some other bands, Leper Sex Killer on the Loose, like, which was a offshoot of the Deep Throat. And yeah, the Knives was right before the Vanishing. Want to get down for a second?
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you when you were back during that time in the mid to late 90s in San Francisco in these bands? I was in the Bay Area then too, and it was notoriously expensive. A lot more.
I'll be right back.
So.
Excuse me.
That's all right. The Bay Area was just so prohibitively expensive. How were you supporting yourself?
Supporting myself with music, and
really?
No, I wasn't. No, of course.
Oh, you weren't. Okay. I was going to say that would have been the exception, certainly not the rule.
No.
What were you doing in San Francisco at the time?
When I moved to San Francisco, I think I was lingerie modeling in bars when I first moved there. And then I was working a lot of retail, food service. I worked at a Cajun restaurant on Hay Street for a couple years, and then I got a job at PhotoWorks, like process 6041 film. I did a lot of photography during the time of the scene, and I was really involved in photography. So I was working at that lab for a few years, and then I moved to Europe.
Okay. Was that in San Francisco? The lab was in the city?
Yeah, it still exists. It's called PhotoWorks.
Okay. All right. And then you wound up in Berlin after a number of years. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. Vanishing was active, very active, from about 2003. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And
we moved to Berlin on August 8th, 2004. I remember that date because it was 8/18/2004. So that was a great date. And me and Brian moved to Berlin. And yeah, I lived there 9 years in Berlin.
Okay, I think I had forgotten the fact that you and Brian moved there together.
Yeah.
So was the intention to keep the Vanishing going in Berlin?
Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah. You could be a little louder if you don't mind getting a little closer.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we moved there with the Vanishing, and we did the Vanishing for a couple years there, and then I started working with Bettina Köster from Malaria, and I did an album with her, the Autonervous song. So we met her actually directly after moving to Berlin. We were picked up from the airport by Steve Morell and brought to an interview where we met her and being interviewed, and
wow.
me and Brian ended up living with her there, and then eventually got my own apartment. I mean, I just love Berlin so much. It's an amazing city. I have great memories there. So beautiful and really great place, you know.
Yeah. Lovely. And then, so sometime during that time, I know I've read about it, and I'm dying to ask you about it. You collaborated with Budgie from using the Banshees.
Yes.
Did
Well, after I moved, go on.
Oh, was that a recording that's come out?
Yeah, he played on my first solo album, Is It Fire? I met him through Toby Dammit. He was thinking about moving to Berlin, and so we invited him for recording Is It Fire at that time. So we invited him into the studio to play on Is It Fire, and it was amazing. It was like such a great opportunity. It was like bringing a butterfly, like basically like, you know, being up close next to somebody I admired so much, you know, and being able to play with them. And so he played marimba on Golden Snake, and then he played on Let Me On together with Toby Dammit, and played on Blood and Silver together with Toby Dammit. We set up 2 drum kits, and we also played a bunch of live shows together. Played with him in Berlin with Toby Dammit, both of them on drums, at the SO36, which is a great famous punk club. And also played with him in Mallorca, Switzerland, little tour in Germany. We went all over the place.
Wow, how incredible! That must have been so surreal. It would have been surreal for me, I think.
Drummer, it was such a great experience playing with him. I'd love to do more stuff in the future. I actually invited him to play on my new album, but I think everyone's in some moment right now, you know. Yeah.
Everyone's what? What did you say? Everybody's what?
It's such a weird moment, and it's such a weird moment. Sorry, we're having a water festa here with just like without a swimming pool. It's such a weird moment in the world, you know. It's like you can't make any assumptions. Everyone's struggling in their own way. And I saw a quote that I liked a lot. It said, "We're not all in the same boat. We're all in the same storm. You know, some of us are in ships, some of us are in rafts, and some are swimming for our lives, you know, but everyone's in the same storm, and that's maybe somehow comforting, you know, but it's a strange moment in humanity. But it's a very strengthening moment because we all got to do our best and you know, come together and make the most of what's going on, you know."
Sure, yeah. What's your life in Brazil like?
Well, as you can see right now, because schools are closed, I don't have I'm a single mom in the moment. I have no relief with my children. So it's been really hardcore. It's been really hard for that because being a creative person, I have had no relief in so long. So that's one thing about the virus, the reality that is really challenging. Because as you can see, this is like my reality, like every single moment of my day, basically, is that I have children and there's no structure in place to like help me, and I haven't been able to find a babysitter. So that's been stressful. But the thing is that here is really a paradise. Like, what do you want? Here is really a paradise. It's the fourth vacation destination of Brazil, and it's a totally amazing, beautiful. We have 103 beaches, so it was a huge. I'm just gonna basically let my 2-year-old pour water all over my lap right now, so you can see this, like until the water bucket's done, and then maybe the interview is over. But like, just to continue on, my daughter is such a diva that she can't even deal with the fact I'm doing interviews. She's like competitive and like she's ready to start her own career, basically. But yeah, it's
maybe her big break.
I find it so inspiring to live in nature, and I love tropical climates, and it just was like a huge dream. I came to Brazil on a few tours. I guess it was my 3rd tour that I fell in love with their dad. I met him through a producer that mixed my album In Love with Jessie and Pichu, which was Music was made by Costa in Sao Paulo, and then it was mixed and produced by Victor Rice, who's from New York. So I met their dad through him. He produced his stuff too, and Pichu is his name. He's from Angola, and he's an amazing freestyle singer. So I met him in Sao Paulo, fell in love, and then that was it. I got a one-way ticket to Brazil, just like I did when I came to Europe the first time, and I moved to Brazil. I lived 2 years in Zona Leste, Sao Paulo, and then it was my dream to return to the ocean and to be, it was always my dream to buy a house in the tropics. I was in Berlin for years almost looking at houses in South America and Mexico, like corn, in the winter. I was like, this is what I want. So it's like I managed to focus on that so hardcore that it came true, So I bought a house like in this amazing vacation destination. Basically, the only thing wrong with that is that the temporada, when it's like the vacation time, is like Christmas through Carnival, is so many people, so they trash everything. The beaches get trashed, but we have 103 beaches here, very, very private, so it's just so inspiring. I feel like I've gotten so much work. Yeah, last year, was it last year? Yeah, maybe it was the year before. Okay, so year before last year, I released Heartwave with this producer I met, Unique, from France, that we met years ago in a studio collaboration that I did in Berlin with his best friend Brisa. And so we started talking to the internet, and so we made the album last year, and then we're making another album this year. It's called Tropical Madonna, and it's going to be out I guess next year. So I've been also working on 2 other projects in the moment too, or actually about 9 other projects. So many different like creative things going on here. It's just so inspiring. I think not to be in a city anymore and to not have the distraction, and also because I'm a mom now, I just have the luxury of going out and socializing much, So the quarantine is actually not so different, because I'm so isolated anyways in my life that it's almost just like, okay, well, this is just a norm for everyone. So in a way, it's kind of like nice that other people are going through what I was already going through, Also, just being an artist, like you get really isolated in your work and you don't want to see anyone. So it's kind of it was almost a comfort for me, like when this started, like, oh, you're not allowed to go. I was like, great, like, no, I don't want to see anyone.
Forces you to focus.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's quite all right. It's all right. How often, prior to the coronavirus, how often were you performing there?
I've been doing this weekly DJ residency, not every week, but it was like a residency at this Mexican restaurant called Taco Surf in town. It's a cool skate, punk rock, surf restaurant, and they have the best nachos on earth practically. And so I'm doing my reggae set there since I moved here. Right after I moved here, I got the job, and that's been awesome just to have like a constant thing that is going on. I did it one time since I've been back. Everything closed when we got back. The borders almost closed to our city. We got back the day before they closed. I'd been on tour all of 7 months last year, and then we almost didn't make it back in time. My aunt and uncle helped me to get my tickets back again, because we almost like missed the chance to come back, which would have been such a drag, like being stuck in California. My dad lost his house in the last fire that just came through Santa Rosa and stuff, like last September.
Oh wow, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much chaos going on in California. I'm just so relieved that I got back to Brazil, even though Brazil is in a horrible situation politically. We live in a paradise right now. I just feel like these might be the last like hours on Earth. Who knows? So that's what I was thinking when I came. I was like, I know that this is the last chance to like raise my children in a place where we can go swimming in the ocean and we can appreciate nature in this organic way before maybe the oceans are going to be too polluted. I mean, I do believe that we have the power to clean everything up in this lifetime, and I'm hoping for that, and I'm trying for that. I want that, but it's like, you just don't know what's going on right now. So just want to live in the moment and appreciate the important things in life,
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. When you say you were touring, you were up here in the States. That was last year. The Vanishing regrouped and did some shows. Is that what you're referring to, or did you do solo shows as well?
Yeah, I did 2 Vanishing reunion. We did the Near Dark Festival on September 12th, I guess, in Oakland. Great that we got to play at the Uptown before they closed permanently, I guess. Like, I think they have closed, or I heard that. Anyways, and then in LA, we played at the Monty Bar Lethal Mountain show. And I did 16 shows total. I did a Mexican solo tour. I did some shows San Francisco with Brian's new band that's awesome.
Okay.
With. And Extraction marching band, who I always do stuff with, played with them. In Cali, I did amazing shows in Mexico City at the Centro de Salud, and played in Guadalajara. I just played an amazing DJ set in Villa Corona. On New Year's Eve, I played in Villa Corona, Mexico. I did a DJ set in Aquatic Park. It was the most amazing thing, but it's so funny. It's called Villa Corona, and then here we go into 2020. Like,
that's so ironic. Yeah. How did that work with you touring in Mexico? Did you travel around by plane or in a van?
I flew down to Merida. First, I'm making a record with this producer, Ima Fellini from Aphrodita and Amantes del Futuro. And so I came down there to meet him because he lives in Merida. And then from there, I went to Mexico City and then Guadalajara, Manzanillo, Sayulita, Villa Corona, Ajijic, then Tulum. Last show, the tour was Playa del Carmen, which was amazing. I played an amazing venue there. La Lota, yeah, really cool.
And how does this look? What is this? Is it just you traveling with a laptop or something, or are you with a band?
Well, I just used local drummers.
Oh, okay.
For the show in Mexico City, I played with a drum there. In Guadalajara, and those shows I played with Jessie there. So I just used local drummers. In San Francisco, I played with Extraction Marching Band and a couple of drummers for them. And then I can't remember else right now. I think I can't remember, but just using.
Did we lose you? Come on back. Jessie, can you hear me? Well, she still appears to be connected, so we'll give this just a moment. We're experiencing technical difficulties, I guess you could say. Bear with us just a moment. All right, we are back on. Welcome back to Movers and Makers, episode number 4. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm back here with Jessie Evans. Jessie, how's it going down there?
Doing good, thank you.
Certainly. Internet is spotty all over the world, I think.
Yes.
I can't remember where we were exactly, but I did have a few more things I wanted to ask you about before we sign off tonight for good.
Sounds good.
I've noticed here and there that you have posted over the last couple of years some dolls that you're involved in making.
Yes.
To do with the French-American actress Josephine Baker.
That's right.
What's the story with those?
Well, I've been a huge Josephine Baker fan since before I can remember. I just love her so much. She's like my spiritual godmother or something. Like I think she's such a symbol of what one person can achieve, like the power of one's soul and universe. Like she was born so poor, St. Louis. She like danced her way out of poverty. She like was a street artist, like doing like, dancing and acrobatics on the streets. And then she was picked up. She did her show in New York. I think she was married once or twice before she even went to Paris, age 19. She became like an overnight sensation. She lived in a castle in France, Milandes, which I visited twice. She has the banana belt there. And she was a spy in World War II. She had a huge rainbow family. She tried to adopt all these kids and prove that people from all the places in the world could live together. And she had tons of pets. She just like was this amazing performer and just like such a free spirit, and I just love her so much anyway. So I always wanted a Josephine doll, but I've never found one. I've seen pictures where she had one, but I never found one like vintage. And so for my daughter Eladina's 2nd birthday, she's half African, and I noticed in Brazil like that there's very, very few like African black dolls available. It's like all white, and it's really hard to get. It's really hard to get that. So I just really wanted to make her one. I decided, well, I'm going to make my own. Then I'm going to make it for her, so that she has something that she can identify with. And so I made it for her, and I gave it to her for her 2nd birthday, and she just loved it so much. She just was like immediate that she still has it. But I posted photos on Facebook, and so many people wanted them. So I just decided to start making them, custom for people. I've made about 25, I guess. And yeah.
Forgive me for sounding ignorant, but are they based on a historic toy or something that was sold? or is it your own invention?
No, it's original, but I have this one vintage. I'm really into dolls. I have this one vintage doll head that it was kind of a base. It might actually be a doll of Josephine Baker. I don't know. I should have brought it. If I'd known you were going to ask that, I would have had it. But I kind of copied that. So it just kind of has like an old doll, old kind of doll face. But it was an original idea. So.
Okay. When things open up again for you, what's next? You mentioned you've got a lot of record projects going on simultaneously.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in a year?
Well, I'm finishing right now. I'm just seeing it, one day at a time, basically. Like, I don't imagine I'm going to be traveling next year at all because my daughter Ruby right now is almost 2. So that's like going into a phase with children where they start running into traffic and it's just a nightmare. It also like hiding away in my house. Like I'm trying to like build my property out. I bought a property and there's a bit of space. So just trying to like work it and, just kind of settling down into gardening and, yard work and stuff like that. Things around the house and working on my music, like I said, I'm finishing up an album right now with Unique from Heartwave called Tropical Madonna. And after that, I'm working on finishing the album with Ima from Mexico and working on other projects and just like working on my music, just like chilling out and going to the beach every day, swimming as much as I can and just being here,
Fantastic.
Yeah.
How does it? I don't want to keep you too long. Obviously, I know you got your hands full, and we've spoken for a while tonight. I'm very grateful for your time.
Thank you.
How did it feel coming back here? You came back last year and played the shows with the Vanishing, and you've been in Mexico performing and stuff. When you come back to the so-called West, not that Brazil's not the West, but you understand what I'm saying. When you come back to this, when you come back to America. Is it different for you now? How does America look to you now? Does it look different? Does it feel like a different place?
Well, it's always very comforting on a very materialistic level as far as like there's more things available. Like there's all different kinds of food, like California is so multicultural and there's things that are a lot cheaper there, like electronics. Like I think Brazil has very bad trade relations and importing policies. It's very expensive to buy Apple products, electronics, anything from China is very expensive here. So going there is very liberating and exciting on this materialistic level. Also, of course, seeing my friends and family is very comforting and wonderful to face, and to see my people that have known me my whole life, and I absolutely love being there. Mexico also has just always been a dream, a fantasy to live there at some point in the future. I've toured there like 4 or 5 times now, and I just love it so much. But I don't know. I mean, like, it's also just like, it seems like such a mess and it's so expensive. And I live such a carefree life here that is just so much more removed from these kind of worries and stress that I see everyone else going through. I really feel like I sensed what was going on in the world and that I just kind of made my escape already. Like, and I'm very proud of that. I feel like last year when I had this burning desire to go out, I sold my Combi, my VW van in order to make the trip happen. I was like, I got to go out now. And I got to go see my folks and do this tour because I kind of sensed that I would be like not be able to anymore,
Right.
So I'm really grateful that I got out and I did that tour and it was wonderful. It was really hardcore because I was alone with my 2 daughters on the flying and bus through Mexico. My sister met me at one point, but it was basically the whole thing. So it was very, like kind of diving back into my punk roots. Like I had some really great shows like in San Francisco at the Knockout, at the Bat Cave, and in Los Angeles, as well at the Club Terminal and the Mouse Show, Dead Festival. And, it's a shame Vanishing had a bunch of tours canceled that we were working towards, but again, there's no rush to do that. We can do our 5th anniversary already, whatever. See how long we live.
I only caught the last little bit of that, Jessie. I'm sorry. I got real. I think we might be losing the stream again here. I don't think I was aware that you were doing that tour. That you had done that tour in Mexico with your kids. Pretty important. There we go.
Okay, I think, but She's tired. It's bedtime here. It's like
Yeah.
9:30, 9:45. But I appreciate
I'm gonna let
so
you go.
much. I appreciate so much the time and being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and catch up a little bit. It's great seeing you again. It's been way too long, but I hope to see you back here in the States again before too long, or else I'll make it down to Ubatuba.
Thank you so much, Sunny. It's great to see you. Hello, everybody that's watching in. Thank you so much. Take care. Stay tuned.
Thanks, everybody, for being part of tonight's stream, and we'll see you next time. Makers. Thank you, Jessie.